It's officially that time of year. Summer is starting. Nexon is about to release the next major update since last year, and we're about to see a really big spike in new and returning players. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you all know exactly where I train my characters from level 1 all the way to 200, so that new and returning players can start off nice and strong. Following this path, I usually get a character from level 1 to 200 in maybe 4 or 5 days, and that's kind of semi-casual playing, but I'm usually a lot more prepared than most new and returning players, so that's just kind of a rough estimate of how long it takes for me using this path. For most people, you know, they might go quicker, they might go slower. Just remember, it's not a race, it's just a general path to follow, and don't be afraid to just take your time and learn the game. There's nothing worse than being level 200 and being at that sort of next chapter in MapleStory and then not knowing at all what to do. So take your time, learn the game, do pre-quests and stuff, and just get used to everything before you gun it all the way to 200. Now, before I get into all of the nitty-gritty stuff, it's important to mention that you should be doing Monster Park once you hit level 100. I think level 100, 110, somewhere around there. You should be doing that every day when you log in. Whenever you do Monster Park, you get Monster Park coins, and then you're able to buy Monster Park potions. There's 3 notable ones, or I guess 4 notable ones. There's gold, red, blue, and green. The gold potions in this case are the most important. They increase your EXP by 10% for 30 minutes. These potions help a lot in the leveling process, especially actually even later on past level 200. So they're super important. You should just be doing that every time when you log in anyway. And then on Sundays, you should try to run 7 times if you're able to. You don't have to worry about running 7 times when it's not Sunday, but it's important that you try to run as many times as you can on Sunday because you are able to get actually 7 additional EXP coupons to use while you're leveling, and they stack with the Monster Park potions, and they also stack with MVPs. Now, if you don't know what an MVP is, it's an additional 50% extra EXP that stacks with your current EXP buffs. So you'll usually see somebody smega in your chat box a message like MVP Mushroom XX30, which basically means I'm going to cast MVP at the Mushroom Shrine, and it's going to be at the 30th minute of this hour. I'm going to go ahead and get into the training spots now. I'm going to break it up by first job, second job, third job, fourth job, and then like Legion or like hyper skills. So as a quick disclaimer, some classes require you to complete a storyline from levels 1 to 30. If that's the case, just do those quests. Most of the time you're locked into doing them and can't leave or can't gain experience outside of doing them. So classes like Kana, Arc, Ilium, and Pathfinder as just some examples, just do the quest. For the rest of you, here's what I recommend. Starting at level 10, I like to go to Partem, just outside of Henesys on Victoria Island. This is actually the Pathfinder starting zone, and it's actually really good for leveling up to 30. Usually people go to Flaming Mixed Golems until level 20 and then go to Savage Terminal, but I find the spawn in Partem to be just way better. So from levels 10 to 15, I'll go straight to Pudgy Flowers and Toxiblossoms at Toxipudge Meadow. From levels 15 to 20, I like to move a few maps over to Chargin Sprouts at Chargin Sprout area. From levels 20 to 25, I move to Ruins Guardians at Ruins Guardian Way 1, and then finally from levels 25 to 30, I move 1 map over to Ruins Sentinels at Ruins Guardian Way 2. Now, this is usually because I'm able to have a Hyper Teleport Rock as soon as I make a character because I have Mesos to spare. If you don't have Mesos to spare, then I usually just recommend to go from levels 1 to 30 or 10 to 30 just in your starting area. There's really no reason to leave. Most starting areas are perfectly equipped to get you to level 30, no problem. From levels 30 to 60, you have kind of 2 options. You can either grind mobs to level 60, or you can do 2 theme dungeons. Personally, I like to skip the second job grind because the theme dungeons generally feel faster. So I do Gold Beach first, which takes maybe 30 minutes, and then Rihanna Strait, which also takes about 30 minutes. Doing both will typically get me to level 60 or somewhere close to it. If you want to skip the theme dungeons though, here's where I recommend you go. Levels 30 to 35, go to Spectre Stray Dogs at Stray Dog Alley 1. This is in Savage Terminal. Levels 35 to 40, go to Mute Inspector Stray Dogs. That's just 1 map over to Stray Dog Alley 2. Levels 40 to 45, you can stay in Savage Terminal and go to Hazard's Mean Cronies in Mr. Hazard's Lair 3, or you can go to Wraiths in Kerning City Subway, Line 2, Area 2. Both of these have really high spawn rates. Levels 45 to 50, I tend to go to Muddy Sprout Monsters in Swamp Region, Deep Mire in Kerning City, and then from levels 50 to 55, I typically go to Wild Boars at the Wild Boar Land in Pyrian, and finally from levels 55 to 60, I go to Skeledogs and Mummy Dogs at Excavation Intermission area in Pyrian. I think that levels 60 to 100 can be a little more difficult for newer players to get through. It can be a bit dull since you're starting to spend more time on each map, and with mobs having more health and requiring more time to kill, it can get a little boring if you're not used to it. This is when I usually recommend you pull up a video in the background or something to distract you a bit. There are longer grinds ahead, definitely, but this is that period where you're kind of not strong enough to one-shot, your skills are kind of lackluster because it's still only third job, and the maps typically don't have that high of a spawn rate. Just try to push through it and you'll have a much better experience after you hit level 100. You know, that's when a lot of the content starts to open up. Of course, a lot of the end game players are going to laugh at me for saying that 60 to 100 can be tough, but when you're starting a new MMO that is especially grindy like MapleStory is, I think it's just a good disclaimer to put out there. So starting at level 60 to 70, I like to go to Copper Drakes in Sleepywood in either Silent Swamp or Humid Swamp if Silent Swamp is full, which it usually is. Right about now, mob HP is going to start going up and sometimes doubling from the last map that you were in. So this is typically where I recommend getting your passive skills active, but dump all of your skill points into your main attack first and then follow up with your passives. Then from levels 70 to 77, I go to Celions, Groupins, and Lioners in Stairway to the Sky 1. This map layout can be tough for some horizontal classes, but the extremely high spawn rate is usually worth the struggle. From levels 77 to 85, go to White Fangs in Ice Valley 2. If you have a summon, throw it onto the top platform and then attack the bottom two. If your class doesn't have an up jump, then take the hidden portal at the bottom left, drop down, and then repeat. From levels 85 to 95, I go to Sand Rats, Dark Sand Dwarves, and Scorpions, either at the Desert of Serenity or at Sahel 2. These are good flat maps, but the spawn rate is pretty low, so if you have a rush skill, I recommend just farming with that. And then from levels 95 to 100, I go to Neo Heroids and Roids in Lab Area C2. Same as the last map, this one is really flat, so I recommend using your rush skill if you have one for some really easy grinding. 95 to 100 goes really fast on this map. So immediately after getting my 4th job advancement, I like to run normal Zakum, pop as many EXP buffs as you have and grab a rune and do normal Zakum. Kill his arms first and you're going to get a level per arm easily. If you're a burning character, usually you'll blast from like level 100 to 120 just from a single run, assuming you don't die and you keep your buffs. Now also assuming you already ran easy Zakum or you don't have enough damage to beat normal Zakum, that's when I would just recommend you go straight to this spot here. From levels 100 to 110, Blood Harps in Sky Nest 2 is a great spot. Now this is actually the first Starforce map on the list and there's gonna be more. 5 Starforce is really easy, so just try to get a level 100 weapon and Starforce it 5 times. It shouldn't cost much and it's worth doing because you can transfer the stars over to a 110 weapon, which will drop from the Blood Harps. From levels 110 to 120, I usually go to Robo and Master Robo in Toy Factory Apparatus Room, or you can just go one map to the left, which is Process 1 Zone 6. That typically has like a much higher burning map, and I'm usually able to find one with like 70% or higher every time I go. From levels 100 to 125, I like to go to Ghost Pirates in Warped Path of Time 3. This requires 26 Starforce though, but by now you should have gotten close to a full set of level 120 gear from the Robos. You can Starforce those pieces evenly until you get 26 stars across all of them. I usually recommend doing all of your gear evenly instead of just dumping 10 stars on one piece because it costs less overall to have multiple pieces with lower stars than it is to have fewer pieces with more stars. Levels 125 to 130, I move to Thanatos and Forgotten Passage. This map requires 28 Starforce, but it has 2 really long flat platforms that make these 5 levels go by extremely fast. Just try hopping channels until you find one with decent burning. I usually try to aim for 30% or higher, but it is a really popular map, so sometimes it is harder to find good burning on it. From levels 130 to 140, I tend to go to Junior Cerebus and the Cave of Trials in Elnath. Now, this is a 55 Starforce map though, so it's a lot more costly to train here, but the spawn rate is super high. A very good alternative though that doesn't cost any Starforce at all would be Blue Goblins in Golden Temple, Guardian Room 1 or 2. You do have to do a few quests before getting access to these maps, but their layout is really good and the spawn rate is really high. So I highly recommend these if you can't afford the Starforce. Now, this is the point where I'm going to say that if you just want this to be a Legion mule, stop here for now. In Reboot, levels 140 to 200 require a lot more preparation than levels 1 to 140. Now, if I plan on going past 140, I'm usually ready to get like a full Pencilier set and start rolling occult cubes for 3 to 6% main stat so that I can still 2 to 3 shot my way up to level 200. Without having some preparation, 140 to 200 can feel really horrible and just slow. So if you're dead set on getting this character to 200 though, be ready for things to slow down. So for levels 140 to 150, I like to go to Crews and Captains at Red Nose Pirate Den 2. The spawn rate is a little bit crummy here, but the EXP is actually pretty good. Similar to Forbidden Passage, you'll want to try and find a decent burning. Then from levels 150 to 160, you can go to Blood Mantis in Colossus West Road 3. This map usually has a way higher burning than its popular counterpart, Colossus West Road 2, but either one is totally acceptable. I just usually prefer to go to the higher burning because that's a huge EXP increase. Now, if you're willing to take a break from constant grinding and do a little bit of questing, I highly recommend doing the Stone Colossus questline. You can also get access to the Inside the Stone Colossus 2 map, which is easily one of my favorite maps to train in from levels 155 to 165. Otherwise, I also recommend you start doing the Temple of Time questline from levels 150 to 160. If you plan on maining this character, this is an extremely important questline since it gives you access to Pink Bean. If not, you can just stick to Stone Colossus. From levels 160 to 165, you can go to Mutant Snails in Henesys Ruins Market, and from levels 165 to 170, you can go to Mutant Slimes in Hill north of Henesys Ruins. If that map is a little bit too big though, or the mobs are hitting just a little bit too hard, you can actually switch over to Meteon and Plateon in Boswell Field 4 from levels 165 to 175. This map is a lot smaller and it's actually really good with a totem. Then starting at level 170, there's a lot more options of where you can train. I'll give you the more common ones, but I have a specific area I like to go to that I recommend over the common areas way more. From levels 170 to 180, you can go to Gray Luxury Saucer and Gray Commuter Saucer in Corridor 203 or any of the surrounding maps in the Omega sector. You can also go to Official Night B and Official Night A's in Night District 1 from levels 170 to 180. However, I far prefer going down this route. From levels 170 to 190, I go to Critias and jump through the maps depending on my class. These are the specific ones that I go to though, as they have the best map layouts and typically have a 70% or higher burning all the time, and they have an insanely high base spawn rate, and it's just mind-blowing with totems. Level 170 to 175, I go to Frozen Rage and Forest of Pain 3. From levels 175 to 180, I go to Burning Terrors and Forest of Laments 2, or you could go to Burning Vanity and Forest of Laments 5. From levels 180 to 185, I go to Permeating Solitude and Permeating Terrors in Forest of Darkness 1, and then from levels 185 to 190, I go to Permeating Anxiety and Forest of Sorrows 4. Afterwards, you can go to Swollen Stumps in Twilight Pyrrhion from levels 190 to 195, or you could go to Pillaging Wild Boars in Fiery Ravine, which is also in Twilight Pyrrhion. And then finally, from levels 195 to 200, you can go to Sinister Wooden Mask, Sinister Rocky Mask, and Sinister Steel Mask in any of the Forbidden Excavation sites. I highly recommend Forbidden Excavation Site 2, as the layout is easily the best one, but the burning is usually gone and it's highly contested in Reboot, so any of the other ones work great as well, especially if you can find a higher burning. Additionally, you can also do my absolute favorite questline in the whole game, which is the Fox Valley questline, starting at I think level 190, which gives you a really cool medal and it opens access to some really solid training maps to level 200. And that's pretty much it. That's my path all the way to 200. If you know of any really good training spots, go ahead and post them down in the comments below. Help out your fellow Maplers, let people know the goods, you know? And with that, I just want to thank everyone so much for watching. We are actually extremely close to 600 subscribers. I think we're 10 subscribers away from 600, which is just incredible. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. If you like this, of course, leave it a like, share it with other people, you know, especially new players. If you're getting your friends to play, send them this video, let them skip through and figure out where to train as well. And then, yeah, that's it, I think. Thank you guys so much. Really, the support has been incredible. So I really do appreciate it. And happy mapling.